So in this lesson, we're just going to talk about lucid dreaming as a spiritual practice. So moving into the later parts of this course, and some of us are highly likely having lucid dreams, having some powerful experiences in lucid dreams, even some moments of insight. It's not uncommon for premonitions, even like memories that you may have forgotten to come back. Sometimes even you can have experiences of what we'd call past lives, so maybe other experiences and other times that come up as you move deeper and deeper into the base of your consciousness. So this is really about, this lecture or this class is really about how do we take lucid dreaming and turn it into a spiritual practice. So we may have been using it as a self-inquiry, we may have been using it for self-exploration, might have been using it for role reversal, practicing sports, gaining insight into questions. So this is kind of where we shift gear a little bit. So if you already have a certain practice, maybe you have tantra practices, maybe you have practices related to other fields, it doesn't really matter what those practices are. Any practice, we can take it into the lucid dream and we can use that in the lucid dream. Now, when you do spiritual practice in the dream, so say mantra, pranayama, anything working with sound and energy, visualization, meditation, anything like this, the effect is very powerful. So the first thing I'd probably say to people is when you start to explore the spiritual practice side of it, be prepared for very strong experiences, because you're moving away from your gross body and you're working a lot with your energetic body and pretty much directly with the mind, which is what we call a wind energy. It moves very quick and it changes very fast. So here we'll do a spiritual practice and we might have to chip away for quite a long time, and it's really got to do with the type of consciousness we have right now, which is quite a gross state of consciousness, whereas our dream and sleep states are very subtle. And then when we become lucid, we have clarity in a very subtle state of mind, and we can do some very powerful things, and we can do them very quickly. So sometimes when we might practice, say, a mantra in a dream and we wake up, we'll feel very different. Or we do pranayama and our channel's very, very different, or our breath feels very different. Or we meditate and then we find that our waking meditation improves dramatically. You may have certain deities or like certain iconic spiritual figures that you work with in your practice, and you can bring these into the dream. So you might ask for whatever that representation is to come into the dream. You might manifest it into the dream and then work with it in that way, especially in tantric practices where you're using it to purify yourself or the channels or the chakras. Another one too is, if you want to start to work with asking questions, I would say directing your questions not to the people in the dream, but directing it to the space. So instead of asking a question to a person, you're asking the question to the space itself. And this is a pretty big change in the way your mind's working, because you're really starting to go to a place where you're asking something bigger than your conscious mind to come through. And it's a very powerful practice. You can gain some incredible insights. You can have some very strong experience. So I'd recommend having something you want to ask and asking it to the space. It may not happen straight away. Sometimes you'll be blocked, and this will be because maybe you're not ready for it. And then the subconscious mind, when it kind of senses you're ready, you'll notice that the block comes off. You can work with blocks in your waking practices with pranayama work, mantra work, energy work, even just things like devotion to your path, devotion to your practice, devotion to overcoming those obstacles. Another good practice is, while you're in the dream, is to meditate. Now this will be a very powerful experience. You might not be able to do it for very long. The energy can be very strong. It's not uncommon to have a Kundalini experience, so you may have an experience of something at the base of your dream spine setting off with coils spinning up. Now, this is something I've experienced, and so I have to sort of make practitioners aware that it's possible for this to happen in dream because you're working on such a subtle energetic level. The other thing too is closing your eyes in the dream or falling backwards. So closing your eyes and falling backwards really take you to, I guess we'd say, the base, or where dreams manifest from, or where your consciousness is manifesting from, like your mind stream. And this is a really deep practice because it moves you back. It's quite common when you start to practice like this. Psychic capacities come up, you start to remember times that have been. Maybe people around you start to understand that there's been these connections before, that you're playing something out that you have done before with them. So my advice, if you're moving in this direction, is take your spiritual practice. Even practicing just before you go to bed is a really nice way of drawing it into your sleep. And then actually actively working with your spiritual practice in the dream. Pick something. Generally a mantra is a good place to start. You'll find that it's quite good to work with, and then as you progress you may move towards stronger, more advanced techniques. And just pay attention to your day after it, your waking consciousness after it, the effects it's had on your life, the way you're engaging with your life. Namaste.